All right, I'm gonna be going through Forbes' top 6 credit cards for November 2025. This is pretty much gonna be a list of the best cards. I mean, I guess for the whole 2025, there hasn't been that many like new cards that have dropped or anything like that. But I wanted to go through and assess their list. I wanted to do some videos like this where I look at some of the lists from the experts, expert money people, and Forbes is like the biggest name in finance and all that. I would say money. Anytime you hear Forbes, you think money, almost, to me at least. So I wanted to go through their list, see what they have to say is the best credit cards for people in November 2025. They have a list of 6 here, so I wanted to go through it. At number 1, they have this is not in order actually, but they have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card on here. Now, I always talk about how the Chase Sapphire Preferred is one of the best cards for everybody in terms of being a card that, if you're experienced, you can have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. If you're like new to credit cards, you can have the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. If you make a lot of money, if you don't make that much money, it's a very good middle of the road credit card. It's something that doesn't require you, like I said, to have that much money, or but you also can have it if you do have a lot of money, because it's going to provide benefits and it's going to have value. So the Chase Sapphire Preferred, anytime you hear me talk about this card, I always talk good about it. It's one of the best cards. Middle of the road, has a lot of benefits. Their second card is the Amex Gold card, which they actually have a partner offer here, so that's a little bit suspicious. They also have it for the preferred Blue Cash Preferred by Amex, so I guess they're partners with Amex. But I would kind of push back on this. I do not think the Amex Gold is one of the top 6 credit cards to get right now, especially when you're talking about the top 6 credit cards. The CSP, for example, Chase Sapphire Preferred, the CSP is like one of the best examples of that. It's a card that, like I said, is wide ranging. You can't say an Amex Gold is one of the best credit cards, period, when it doesn't work for a lot of people. It's not good enough to work for a bunch of different type of people. Amex Gold is definitely good. It's great for the people it's great for. I don't think Amex Gold is as much plug and play that you can call it one of the 6 best credit cards out there. But they do have a partner offer, so it seems like it might be sponsored or something. So I would definitely push back on that. I don't agree with that. I don't know if you could call the Amex Gold card a 5-star credit card either 5 out of 5. That's a little sus to me, but we'll go past that. That's the first card I'm gonna disagree with on this list. The third card though is the Chase Freedom Flex. I can maybe agree with this one. I think the Chase Freedom Flex is a really good credit card. It's definitely a beginner card, no annual fee, 5% on rotating categories. I know this is one of the popular cards with people for their first or second credit card even. It has a lot of benefits. Like I said, introductory offer $200, no annual fee, very beginner friendly. And one of the best parts about it is that you can get a lot of points for beginners in credit. You can rack up a lot of points with the Freedom Flex. So this is a valid card, honestly. I don't know about that 5 out of 5 rating. I don't know. Obviously, with credit cards, like I always say, it's gonna be, your mileage may vary. People, have different strokes for different folks. But I think you can definitely make an argument for the Freedom Flex being a top 6 credit card. It's one of the best starter cards. Again, it really is on that tier with Discover, Chase Double Cash. When you look at all those types of cards, it is a card that is on par with any of those cards, can compete with any of them. The next card though is going to be the Venture X, which is super valid. I think this one is almost unanimous. This card is talked about, like I said, justifiably by pretty much everybody when they talk about travel cards. This card is one of the newer cards. when Capital One came out with this card, they knew they had to compete with the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Amex Platinum, and they did a amazing job with it. You know, most people know Amex and Chase and are already in that direction, so they had to come out with a great product, and they did. And the Capital One Venture X still to this day is a really great credit card, 100% top 6 credit card right now to get. The fifth card, though, is going to be the BCP from Amex. So, like I said, this one has the partner offer. So, it seems like they might have some affiliation with Amex, right? Maybe sponsorship or whatnot. I think this card, though, is not one of the top 6. I did make one of my previous, most recent videos, though, was on this card and how I called it like the weirdest credit card out right now, because it is kind of really good, but it also, I feel like the intro bonus is too much for this credit card. It says here the intro bonus is $0. I don't know if they changed that or if that's new or if that's always been like that, but nonetheless, it still is $95. And like I said, it definitely, $95 is not a lot. But for example, the CSP at $95, that is more valid to me. You know, I think this card, and I think it'd be better. Forget the $0 intro offer in the first year. I think the card should be $49. I think it should be like half of what it is right now, and then, you know, be like $45, or not 45, like $49. I think that really would be better. I think it makes more sense for the card, number one, but I also feel like if you did that, they would sell way more of these cards. They'd have way more applications for this card because they can sell it way easier. I think it's way easier to sell $49 versus $95. And then obviously talk about 6% on gas and groceries. I think that this card would sell like hotcakes if they did that. But also, like I said, I don't know. That's my thing with that. I think the intro offer is a little too high, especially because they already have the platinum and the gold as some of the steepest intro bonus or annual fees already. I think they can afford to make this card like half of what it is. I think they'd make more money, to be quite honest with you. So really weird card. It has a lot of nuance with it. I would not put it at a top 6 card. It's a wild card for sure. Dark horse credit card, so to speak. Like, you can really, you know, make a case that it is one of the best cards, but I wouldn't be able to say it's like for sure top 6, you know. And then the next card is a City Double Cash. So the City Double Cash is one of the best starter cards as well. This is a card that is known for having 2% on everything. It's one of those credit cards. I remember there was a big boom in those of all these 2% on everything credit cards. I have this card. Really good starter card. You know, usually with a starter card, you either want to go a 2% back on everything, or one of the 5% on rotating categories and 1% on everything else, like a Freedom Flex or Discover. Either way, you got like a pretty good credit card. It just depends on, you know, what you like and your preferences. But honestly, I can say that this is probably a good place for the Double Cash by City. I think it is one of the best credit cards out there, especially, like I said, for wide ranging. 2% back on everything, you know, is going to be just a very easy, middle of the road thing to do. I think it's one of the best credit cards, probably. Again, there are a lot of cards on its tier that do similar stuff, like 2% back. But I like some of the upgrade options for City as well, so I would put that up there. For example, Chase doesn't have a 2% on everything option. Amex doesn't. So, you know, most of those, I know PayPal has it, but from the major banks, there's not really any else. Capital One doesn't either. So City Double Cash, I have the card for a reason. Actually on a downgrade, but still, this card is really good too. So that's my review of Forbes' top 6 credit cards. I really agree with all of them except the partner offer ones, which again, it seems like they might be biased. So take that for what you will. But besides those that seem like they were paid sponsors, I agree with this whole list. Honestly, I came into it expecting that I was going to disagree with Forbes, but I really do agree. Double Cash, Venture X, Freedom Flex, and CSP are all definitely top 10 and probably maybe top 6 credit cards that you should get right now, or not maybe even get right now, because you know how it is with getting credit cards. I made a video on that recently about the order you get your credit cards mattering. But in terms of best and most valuable credit cards, I agree with this. So thank you for watching this video. If you made it to the end, appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.